Hello and welcome to our next subject session on T levels. And we're on our third subject out of the four that we're offering in September 21. And we are back with the wonderful Ian Everett. How are you doing, Ian?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
Did you have a nice lunchtime?
Yes, I had a lovely lunch.
Good. So you'll be talking about the other subject that you are leading on coming September 2021. But for anyone who wasn't here earlier, do you want to sort of explain sort of who you are and what your position is at the college?
My name's Ian Everett. I am the Programme Area Manager at the moment for Education and Early Years, but next week I move over to become the Programme Area Manager for T levels of Early Years Education and also Health and Science.
Fantastic. So you're going to be talking about the Education and Childcare T level. So I'll let you sort of take away with that one.
Yeah. Okay, so with the Education and Early Years element of the T levels, this is a level 3 program, which means that it is equivalent to 3 A levels. So one T level qualification is the same as if you'd done 3 A levels altogether. You'll get the same sort of grade that comes out with A levels, and it's recognised exactly the same by UCAS as A levels. It's a 2-year course, naturally, as it follows the same A level model. But it gives you a technical qualification that will mean that you have industry placement experience. Now on that slide there, you can see that it says 45 days. There's a little asterisk next to it because that says the minimum. Childcare route is slightly more. Alongside this, you will be classed afterwards as having a license to practice. And because of that, the awarding organisations have actually increased the number of days in placement, but we'll come to that. This obviously just tells you when we're starting. So as of September 2021, we will be taking in our first T-level groups. So this time next year, we will see T-level students around the college. T-level structure is the same across all T-levels. It makes no difference what subject you are doing, whether you're doing the childcare, whether you're doing health and social care, whether you're doing construction. They both have core components and they have specialist pathways. The core component is pretty much anything that is common and important to all the routes within the structure itself that you are choosing to do. So for example, in childcare, one of the key components might be child development from birth to 5 years. Pretty much everybody will need to know that. So everybody studies that particular element. And then when the specialist pathways come along, that's where some people may diverge off and go into different classes. So in this slide, for example, it talks there about health and science. If you've chosen midwifery, you'll go that way. If you've chosen pharmacy, you'll go another way. In education and early years, at the moment for September, we'll only be offering the early years educator route. So there will only be one specialist pathway. But as they move forward in a couple of years, then they're going to bring in the specialist teaching and learning route, which is our teaching assistant qualification. So in a couple of years, we'll be able to offer that pathway as well. So there will be a different route for people to follow in childcare. So there we go. That's our one pathway right now, early years education and childcare specialism. But like I said, in a year or so, that will be joined by supporting teaching and learning. What do you get after this? Well, it's quite straightforward. You will get a industry recognized, nationally recognized certificate that shows an overall grade of pass, merit or distinction, very similar to how BTEC works at the moment. To do that, you must pass all parts of the T level to get this qualification. So that means you must pass all of the classroom work that you will be set. You must pass all of the work placement tasks that you will be set. And there will be an exam at the end as well. So you'll need to pass the exam as well. Once you've done that, you'll get your lovely certificate that you can put into a frame that says pass, merit, distinction. You'll also get some other bits of paper that come with it too that show a separate grade for your occupational specialism, that's pass, merit, distinction. That shows how well you did in that occupational specialism. There's a separate grade for the core component, which is graded A star to E. So you recognize that from the old GCSE language. And there'll also be details of how you did in the industry placement too. So The 3 elements of the course will be broken down so you can see how well you did in each one. And then you'll get a lovely certificate that is overall to show to employers and say, this is what I got off my T-level. Industry placements for childcare are 57 days work experience in placement. If you have already started looking at level 3 childcare as it stands right now, you may be aware that there is a significant number of hours of placement involved. When this qualification was being constructed, and I was actually on the panel that helped design this program, one of the first things we looked at was the placement time. And when the Department for Education said it's 45 days, it was very quickly noted that that's actually less than we currently offer right now. So it was brought up to meet the current standard. That means that when you go to an employer and you tell them that you have a T-level, they will know exactly what standard you are at, because they will have been through the same sort of qualification in previous years in terms of the placement hours. However, in regard to the content, this course has been designed with a lot of input from employers and from industry, whereas previously the course was designed by people like me who've been sat in an office for maybe 10 years and haven't worked with children for a little while. What we've done now is we've sat with employers, with universities, with colleges, and with trainers to see what do they really want? What do people want when you go into the workforce? Oh, that was fast. Any questions?
Cool. Well, thanks, Ian. I hope that was really useful for people watching at home. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to pop them in the comments and we will try and answer those for you. And by we, I mean Ian will definitely answer those for you. I'll just facilitate that. So a couple of questions sort of on top of what you just said. So obviously students have to do placement. Will students get help with finding where they have to do their placements for the T-levels?
Yes, just like now we've got our placement coordinators within the college. We have lists of all the placements that we've been working with over the years. It totals somewhere close to 200 different places across the city and county. And that's preschools, nurseries, creches, as well as primary schools and special educational needs establishments.
Fantastic. So we've also talked about just the one specialism. I know that it's quite in early stages of planning at the moment, but have you got sort of any idea of what kind of things students will be learning on the course?
The content itself will be things like child development, and that will actually go from birth to 19 now, whereas the current level 3 qualification, it's birth to 8. So this qualification, this T-level, will mean that students will have a wider opportunity for employment opportunities, simply because you'll have more age range to work within. There's also things in there like safeguarding would be a major part of that, communication with parents, communication with external agencies. There's something interesting in there that's called international perspective. So we study how do other people look at early years education around the world and how do they do it. There's elements in there that will talk about psychology, child psychology, and also new for this coming year, there'll be an element in terms of studying neurology. You know, how do children's brains actually develop and function?
That's really interesting. So it sounds like this is a really in-depth course, and you actually get more of a wide range of knowledge than you possibly have with the BTEC, which is really cool. So in terms of sort of facilities, obviously they'll get to go out and do a placement, but what kind of facilities will they get access to while they're on campus?
Well, while we're based upon the 3rd floor of the A block, we have a various range of classrooms up here with different types of setups within them. The major place that we would do a lot of our training is actually in our training block, which is the D block down next to the car park. We have a mock nursery set up down there so that we can set up the nursery to look like a genuine children's nursery. We get rid of all the tables and chairs and desks that are adult size, bring out the child size furniture, and we can set it up in such a way that we can either test students to see whether or not they've got health and safety problems, or we can actually use it with real children in the building. We are very lucky that we have the actual college nursery right next door. And we work very closely with the college nursery, and they will sometimes bring some of the children around, bring them into our training nursery, and then we're able to work alongside real children with oversight from the teaching staff as well as the nursery staff, so that we have a more controlled environment before students go out into the workplace and start to work hands-on with children to begin with. Then also upstairs in that building, there is the primary classroom, which is where the teaching assistants go, and that's their particular learning environment.
Fantastic. So there's really great facilities on campus as well as the placement opportunities that you get. And you also get the opportunity to actually work with children while you're on campus, which is really cool. So obviously with this course, there's only one specialism, whereas for some of the other T levels, there's maybe 2 or 3 options. But what do the students get to study those specialisms from the get-go, or do they start those in second year and just focus on more sort of general in the first year?
Well, part of my new role next week is actually to design this course and figure out which way we're going to go. We've already started to look at it. We are considering that we will do the core units, especially in the first year, get everything of the common part out of the way. But then it may be that we will start specialist units within the later half of the first year and then across into year 2. It may be that the core units take up the entirety of year 1 and the specialists take up the entirety of year 2. It's something that's still very much in the planning stage. The awarding organisations release their specifications to us, which is the units that students will have to study. And now it's up to us to actually design the course and structure it and make sure that we can get that specification to fit the 2 academic years that we've got for everybody to be in.
Fantastic. So in your opinion, obviously as someone who's planning the T levels and has been involved quite a lot heavily in it, how would you say, what would you say the benefits of studying T levels are over possibly maybe another BTEC?
Well, when it comes to some of the BTECs, certainly in the old days when I was teaching BTEC, there wasn't really a requirement to pass the placement. There was the placement element of it, and there was the hours that had to be done. But you didn't have to necessarily be any good at it. And I've had in the past where students were excellent in the classroom but couldn't actually do the job in the training environment, and they were still able to qualify. Whereas now, you have to be a good practitioner. You have to show that you can do this job in order to pass. And that's what the employers have asked for. That's why the employers have been involved. They want to know that when people come to them and say, I have a disqualification, it means they have a certain set standard of knowledge, of skills and abilities. And when you present them with a T-level certificate, the employers will know exactly what that means, and they will know exactly where you are at in terms of your professional standards.
Fantastic, cool. So the next question I have is, what can students do after they do T levels? Obviously, they are equivalent to A levels, but what is their sort of progression routes?
Okay. There's 2 routes really. You can either go straight into employment. Being at a level 3 standard, this qualification means that you can go straight off into the nursery and you can start to work your way up through the promotional ladder of your career in an early years education setting. There are various different jobs within early years that you can access between day nurseries, creches, even holiday firms like level 3 practitioners for their children's clubs. So you can work overseas if you wanted to, or on cruise ships if you wanted to go that way. There's the traditional private nanny, so you could work in somebody's house looking after their child. There are particular requirements, or people are very interested in British nannies in the US. As well as in the Middle East. It's sort of like the Mary Poppins effect. Everybody likes to have a British nanny. But then if you don't want to go that route, there's also the higher education route. So a lot of my students at the minute on level 3 in year 2 are wanting to go into higher education and go on to become primary school teachers. So this is a route in then to primary education. So they are able to go from this course, as long as they score high enough UCAS points. So the grade is very important for this course coming up with the T level. I would expect you to have to be getting merit grade minimum to be able to access higher education, but you can do it. It's just the same as if an A-level student, they wouldn't be able to access university if they just got Ds. They would need to be getting A's and B's, and a couple of C's may be acceptable. Whereas in the with the T level, you would be looking at merit and distinction level to get onto higher ed.
Fantastic. There's loads of opportunities. I think going to be Mary Poppins. I love that. I love that analogy there. So with BTEC courses, one of the sort of major things that draws people to BTECs outside of sort of the structure of them is being able to resit their English and maths qualification alongside it. Is that something that they will be able to do alongside the childcare qualification, education and childcare, sorry? Because I know that wasn't able to do it over the healthcare and science one.
I'm afraid it's the same with the childcare. We can't resit English and maths. There are requirements within education and within childcare itself as well, that the government has said that all early years practitioners must have English and maths at grade 2, which is GCSE grade 4. And that is something that we have set as an entry criteria. So we would expect somebody to come to us with 5 GCSEs at grade 4, and 2 of those would be English and maths.
Fantastic. And if they don't get those English and maths, is there a level 2 they could go on to in order to prepare for the T level?
Yes, there is a level 2 qualification that sits just underneath the level 3. It takes 1 year to complete. And as long as you do well on that and you work hard and you get a good reference and you pass, obviously, the level 2, then you will be able to access the T level the following year. All it means is that a student would stay here for 3 years with us instead of 2.
Fantastic. Cool. I think that's all the questions I have for you. Is there any sort of advice that you'd give to students looking at doing T levels or anything, just general advice you'd give to students?
I would say look around and look into the careers that you really want to do. Make sure it is what you think it is. Some people start childcare and they don't really understand what are the stresses that may be involved. If you look after your own family members, siblings, that's great, that's lovely. But looking after your little brother is very different to looking after other people's children. You can't do to other people's children what you may do to your little brother. So you need to be able to learn how to look after other people's children and do so in a professional manner. You also need to be aware that this is a long course. It's going to be a very intense course. There's going to be a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of academics still in it. Even though it's not an A-level, it's still to A-level standard. So as well as the work that you get an A-level student doing, you're going to be out doing a lot of placement hours at the same time. So that there's a bit of a tie there in terms of where your attentions may want to be at any one point in the week. At the moment, what we're looking at in terms of structure is maybe 2 days in 2 days in placement, 3 days in college. So you'd have a 5-day working week, but you wouldn't be in one or the other the whole time.
Cool. And obviously the 57-day placement is a minimum. Are students able to do more than the required, as long as it fits around their time, obviously?
The awarding organisation always sets the hours and they set it as a minimum. That is the bare minimum they would expect. They like to students do longer. And quite often students do, because what we'll do is we'll actually plan out the hours and we'll sit it all out on a calendar so students don't have to look at a calendar and get a calculator. We will plan it. So as long as they go to their placements when we tell them, for how long we tell them, for how many weeks we tell them, they will get those hours and days that they need to pass. We also build into that some element of give, so that if they are at any point sick, because we recognise that when you go into a children's nursery, a lot of people will pick up colds and coughs. Children will have no hesitation in coming up and sneezing in your face. So, you are going to pick something up when you go in there. So we recognise that, illness will occur. So we put some safety net, if you like, of some additional hours onto that calendar. And if people are fantastically healthy and they never get sick, they are going to far exceed the hours that are the absolute minimum that the awarding organisation expects.
Fantastic. Cool. So I think what really benefits people doing T levels is you get that, on-job experience. I know sometimes, the BTEC, you did get that experience, but it really is hammering home that you get that on-job experience with employers out there in the world, sort of using your own initiative, which is really, really important. So it's definitely something to look into if you're looking to go into childcare. And obviously, as of next year, it will be one of the only options to do childcare with us at level 3. So it's definitely something to look into. But for now, I think that's all the questions I have for you, Ian. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or?
No, I think we're done.
Cool, fantastic. I'll be back at 2:30 with the construction T level. We'll be joined by Neil, who will talk us through the construction T level. But for now, we'll say thank you to Ian, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.